Granted that we can play pretty much any game we want to in the United States. Hi, folks, it's Falcon, and today on Game Ranks, 10 games.
First of all, we all know why we got to stop this. Um, did you guys even know, or do you even know of any banned games? Did you know that
Yes.
games can be banned?
Oh
What
yeah,
game do you know?
Manhunt.
I know the first
Is that
one.
banned?
Yeah.
Well, I think Mortal Kombat was the first game to ever get banned in the U.S. at one point. His mother's when the very first Mortal Kombat came out, they were um, concerned about the violence and things. So I think Mortal
Well,
Kombat.
everybody was concerned with the violence of Mortal Kombat came out.
I mean, that was the first time you could literally rip someone's head off and have their spine dangling. So
And rip somebody heart out and the blood's dripping. Like, and it had that dark fucking music when you did it. Like, yeah.
But
hell,
they
they were trying to ban D&D at one point because they said it was satanic.
I've heard Magic the Gathering, like
Yeah.
you said, satanic. I've heard, I mean, there's a lot of games that were under some sort of scrutiny. I remember a game back in the day, one of my friends had a Sega CD, and then he had this game called Night Trap. And I remember Night Trap was about to get banned.
Yeah.
Because they showed a girl in a shower, and I was just like, yep.
Yeah. I didn't know like any games actually got banned in America.
I know they wanted to ban Mortal Kombat. They made a big deal out of it. And they went to Congress and all of that shit. I remember the whole hoop.
Well, that's where the rating system came from. The game where the games got their rating system 16, 17, 18, based off of Mortal Kombat.
I remember Grand Theft Auto almost got banned because of the school shootings.
Yikes. Well, let's find out what other games are banned.
That actually got banned in entire countries. At number 10 is Devotion. Now, Devotion is this really cool stylized horror game that I really enjoy. It uses color in a really vibrant but terrifying
Anybody heard of
way.
this?
It really does a good job. Now, the game itself is set in the 1980s, so it's very interesting that they hid in a very anachronistic Easter egg. There is a poster you can interact with that says, Winnie the Pooh and Xi Jinping. Now, Xi Jinping is the president of China, and people claim that he looks like Winnie the Pooh. I don't care whether he does or doesn't, personally. He does, though. If you make media that is calling him Winnie the Pooh, and even in some cases simply just mentioning Winnie the Pooh at all, and try to disseminate it in China, you get banned. Now, I am only describing this. I have no idea if this is bannable in China. However, the developers of Devotion were not simply mentioning it. In providing both names with no further context, they're basically saying he looks like Winnie the Pooh.
I wish
at number 9, Call of
Pooh.
I don't think he don't
Winnie
look
the
like
Pooh's
Winnie the
cute
Pooh.
as hell.
Yeah, he look like Gargamel or some shit to me.
Oh,
he does look like Gargamel.
See, Cobra, you gotta watch out what you say, because what's the People's Republic of China might come after you.
Yeah, I was gonna say something horrible, and then I caught myself, and I'll say it once we stop the video.
Banned in the USA/China.
That motherfucker look like the Keebler elf. Fuck
Duty
him.
Modern Warfare was weirdly banned in the Russian PlayStation Store. Now, the only real information we have on it.
Is
my favorite mission.
Yeah, I was gonna say, is it the no Russian mission? Yeah, I can see why that would get banned.
Is that Sony decided, and when I say decided, I'm putting quotes around it, but you can't see my hands. I'll read their statement. At the heart of Modern Warfare is a completely fictional story, carefully crafted to please all players. Sony decided not to sell the game in the Russian PlayStation Store. We look forward to the release of the game digitally for PC and Xbox on October 25th. Now, Sony never looks forward to the release of a game on other consoles. That's
a badass looking fucking Xbox.
Yeah.
I always wondered like how other country feels like when Call of Duties and games like that, like, you know, make them look bad. Like in DMZ you got El Mazareth and shit, and you got all the fucking Arabs running around. You know, I
Yes.
wonder how they feel about that shit. They probably feel the same way I felt when fucking Resident Evil was over in Africa with that shit.
Oh, Resident Evil 5. Yeah.
Yeah.
I will say one of the
My
games we
favorite
used to.
one.
I bet, bitch.
No. It was the first
Nah,
one
too
I
late.
played.
Oh, yeah. It's too late. It's too
Ain't no
late.
backpedaling.
Oh
You know
man.
what?
How dare you have things you
I'll
like.
feed into your guys's your little cornering game. I love slaughtering black zombies. It is fun.
Um, I was gonna say the game we used to play, Ghost Recon Wildlands, actually got in a lot of trouble because it was the image of I believe it was South America, some places in South America, and Ghost Wildlands has a drug cartel. So it was saying it was giving the narrative that all of these South Americans are part of some drug cartel, and so when they did the second one, Ghost Recon Breakpoint, they made a fictional country and made it exist because of the backlash they got from Wildlands.
Costa Ricans. Never mind.
Yeah, don't dig yourself into a grave.
Yeah, don't be like me and get cornered, assholes.
I'm just saying.
It's all in good fun.
I'm just saying. Costa Ricans make it. White people bring it. Black people sell it. Oops, I said it.
And in the USA.
Fuck them if they can't take a joke. I like
Remember,
this
this is
Xbox.
all-
It's dope. What
This
kind
is
of
all satire.
Man, some of
Yeah,
those
I kinda
Xboxes
do.
they had throughout the years was dope as hell. Like I
Yeah.
used to have,
Motherfucker
I
looks
used to have
good.
the Halo one, and when you turned it on, it'd make like the Halo reach noise. It was
Mhm.
kind of cool, but it was haunted.
Oh,
It turned on and off by itself all the time.
did you get the red ring of death from Xbox?
It was
Everybody
an
got
Xbox
that.
One, but
How business works. I would speculate here that this is the result of political pressure that Sony caved into, which Microsoft and I guess just Activision in general did not. Steam certainly doesn't act like a regulatory body in various countries. Or maybe Sony just loves the Russian people too much. More than their money, even. Doesn't that sound silly? To me, it's obvious they all got some kind of political pressure and Sony responded to it. At number 8 is Danganronpa V3 in South Korea. South Korea is often lauded as the amazing, beautiful, capitalist counterpart to North Korea's, well, we all know what North Korea is. But hey, guess what? They aren't super in love with free speech either. They have a regulatory body called the Game Rating and Administration Committee, which has to rate all games that are released in the country. And when they saw Danganronpa V3, they were like, no,
Never
I'll
played
read
it.
the law they cited.
Huh?
I've heard of it, but I've never played it.
I've heard of it too.
I've never heard of it.
Yeah, I never heard of
I
it.
think it's
There
based
is a
on an
concern
anime.
for societal disruption due to an amplified portrayal of crime, violence, sex, or etc., which in turn would incite criminal behavior or copycat crimes. Hey, did you know that a copycat crime is when a criminal actually commits a crime and somebody else does it because they realize that it's possible? Anyways, there was a murder case that happened around the release of the game, which was very grisly and involved murdering children, which the game is kind of about that. So I understand the sensitivity. However, lesson here, folks, always be critical of the state, whether the state supports a communist economy or a capitalist one. At number 7, Fallout 3 was banned in India way back in 2008, which was cited as having cultural sensitivity issues. Now, Fallout 3 contains mutant two-headed cows, and the cows share a name with Hindu scholars and preachers. I'm talking specifically about Brahmin, who are generally some avatar of sacred learning in Hinduism. That's, of course, a very simple definition of it. You're welcome to do further research. I probably understand this one, however, as somebody who thinks that it's quite possible for people to make up their own minds on things. Maybe censoring the game wasn't the best idea, or they could have just asked for the cows to be taken out for the India version. I don't know.
Or just
Because,
change their
I mean,
name.
let's just go ahead and say this. The Grand Theft Auto series has been released in India without any problems, and I promise you, even if it's not specifically offensive in the way that this is, it's a much more offensive game than Fallout 3.
I think
That's from our perspective, though. You gotta think like Brahmin is like a religious thing into like Indian culture. I know a little bit about it. That's why, I can see why they would be upset about that.
That's what I said. They just changed the name, though.
And make you immortal so you can't kill the cow.
No, you can't have a mutant. That would make it even worse. That make it more religious.
I thought they I don't want to use the word worship, but I thought they held the bovine to a high regard over there.
Yeah, I heard that.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Number 6.
Yeah.
Huh?
I said they're like sacred animals.
Yeah.
It's the Western version of the PlayStation 4 game Judgment, a very cool game that I personally enjoy quite a bit. Had an actor in it who was arrested for cocaine use. He loved the cocaine. Now, here in the United States, we don't ban stuff because somebody used cocaine. We generally kind of go, whatever. Hope they don't get too tangled up in that and die of an overdose. And then we consume it like the pigs that we are, forgetting entirely about the ramifications of cocaine use. And, I mean, the game didn't get banned. However, they did change the guy in this country, which is weird. None of us know who that actor is. None of us know that he used cocaine. None of us would have cared.
Putting my foot on Eddie Murphy's couch. I ain't like that's something to do. I got more sense than that. So anyway, I was putting my foot on Eddie Murphy's couch.
I mean, if you needed to change it for Japan, sure, but we didn't care. You kind of made extra work for yourselves, Sega. But to be fair, Sega is also the king of making things difficult on itself, so, I mean, it's kind of to be expected. Judgment's a great game. Play it. At number 5, Iraq banned PUBG. And unfortunately for a lot of Iraqi kids, that was a place where a lot of them actually met up without being monitored by their parents. The Iraqi government imposed a ban more or less because the game was popular. The reasoning is that it's addictive, but like, there's a lot of other games you would have to ban if simply being addictive was the problem. I guess it's kind of addictive to have friends, though, which is what a lot of PUBG players that were affected by this ban ended up saying. Because apparently...
I mean, I'm not surprised by that. They only made it where women can drive, like, I think it was like 8 years ago.
Damn.
Yeah.
Life as an Iraqi youth is fairly alienating and difficult to find time, space, and a place to have friends. Internet cafes end up being a place where people do that. All it basically did was piss off young people. They continue to play it, continue to use it. I mean, the Iraqi government has heard of VPNs, right? At number 4, Great Britain banned a sexy dungeon crawler by the name of Omega Labyrinth Z. Great Britain has a video game ratings council very similar to South Korea's. Theirs is called the Video Standards Council, and they refuse to give it a rating, effectively banning it in the country.
Hey, what happens in the dungeon stays in the dungeon.
Mama ain't happy. Nobody.
That sounds like whack-off chair talk, man.
So said this. They believe the content in the game would have strong appeal to non-adult players, which is an issue that would be unacceptable to the majority of UK consumers, and more importantly has the potential to be significantly harmful in terms of the social and moral development of young people in particular. Now, apparently some of the mechanics of the game are collecting underwear and bras and rubbing women's bodies using touch controls in order to free them from...
Yep. Carry this game. That's 100%.
No.
That's going to be on your next top 5.
No.
So, where can I download this?
Next week, Pennies, the trilogy. You said what, Mr. Five?
Where can I download this at?
Steam store.
I guess they probably won't kids.
No, I'm just like...
It's silly sounding. Let's just go ahead and say little sus. But the game itself also got canceled in the US because the publisher that had signed on was like, actually, we don't want to bother with it. Now, like I said, I'm not really intending to look into the sexual content of a video game, but this one apparently has some stuff that's a little bit more objectionable than what I've described here.
Bros.
At number 3, Last of Us Part 2 got banned in a number of countries in the Middle East, and there really wasn't any reasons given. It's kind of just like, hey, you can't buy this game if you even try. Now, it's speculation it's because there's some LGBTQ content in the game, which tend to get banned in several Middle Eastern countries, regardless of the level at which they're implemented in the game, which I personally don't care about at all. Now, you can buy the original game
to throw that
and
in.
the remaster in those countries, which is interesting, considering that the Left Behind DLC is included in the remaster. There's some inconsistencies in their banning processes, let's just say. At number 2, Australia's pretty
I played the original one. And because I was like, in the original one, they never really did anything. I think they might have kissed. But a lot of everything else was kind of implied, like they were a lesbian, but they were like, what, teenagers? I think they were in Last of Us.
Yeah.
So, but I didn't play the remaster. So
I didn't play the remaster either, but I think it was like The Last of Us came out, then the DLC came out, and then they included the DLC with the remaster. And I think I played the DLC separate, and they did kiss in the DLC or something like that. But I just don't see how that's a big deal. But I don't know.
That's a cultural thing.
Yeah.
Didn't they what was that Resident Evil they cried about, or was that Chun-Li and Street Fighters? They made somebody ass and breast small in one of these games.
I know Tomb Raider gets a lot of that for what's her name, Lara Croft. I don't know about Resident Evil. I haven't heard anything. I mean, if it got banned, I would think it got banned for other stuff for the Resident Evil, getting your head chopped off in the blood and gore versus, or like what y'all pointed out earlier, killing Africans in Africa.
I think all that shit's stupid. If a game's set in Africa and the zombies were white, it would be another uproar. So, like, what the fuck you want to do?
And then they kill Mexicans with Las Plagas.
Right.
They
like,
kill white people in Raccoon City. It's
hold on. They were not in Mexico and Las Plagas. They were in Spain. That's two different things. They were in Europe. Now, just because they speak Spanish, don't mean they're same.
All I'm saying is, if they had black people in Raccoon City, it would have been an uproar. Okay, that was bad taste. All right.
What is it
like? With games. I mean, you probably heard the story about them banning a game.
I think the raccoon part went over y'all head.
Sometimes their bans actually do something to the game. For instance, when DayZ got banned in Australia, they actually managed to get Bohemia Interactive to change the game worldwide in order to unban it, which they did. One of the primary reasons that Australia banned the game was the inclusion of a certain plant that is now legal in certain parts of the United States as a healing item. This is something that Australia frowns upon. But yeah, they modified it worldwide because they didn't want to separate the Australian players from the rest of the world. And finally, at number 1, way back.
Never played it.
They wanted to put it?
DayZ, I always wanted to play it. I just never played it.
It's not good.
Oh,
I mean, they took the weed out.
It's
they made weed a healing animal. I mean, a healing item. That's hilarious.
It's the herbs in Resident Evil. That's what I always saw it. Herb, weed.
Then you got to mix the different strains to get the stronger strain for better healing.
Put them in beakers. You're going to have some baking soda there pretty soon.
Yep.
Number 1 better blow my socks off because I never heard of most of these games.
In 2008, Manhunt was not only banned in New Zealand, but if you had the game, if you possessed the game, if someone saw you and reported you as owning a copy of Manhunt, they would come and arrest you, fine you for $2,000.
That's a black angry police officer, man. What's up with that?
That is Officer Tenpenny.
No.
He's
and he runs ice from San Andreas.
That's a real officer on the game?
Yeah, he's Officer Tenpenny. He runs ICE, and he kind of like tries to set the gangs against each other, and he's a crooked cop basically.
He looks
Huh.
crooked.
Racist.
If you had shown it to anyone under 18, you would be liable for a further fine of $20,000
Damn.
and imprisonment for up to 1 year. You would have to import the game into the country in order to do this because you had absolutely no way of getting it otherwise. They were very serious about this ban. I mean, it's not like a fluffy, cuddly, nice game or anything, but I think we've seen worse stuff at this
Manhunt's
point.
fucked.
New Zealand.
I love Manhunt.
Well, that's
though.
all for today. We've shown you
I
enough
wanna
of the
see
forbidden
more
knowledge.
Manhunt now. I need to know what
Manhunt
the game
is
about.
basically like a big snuff film. Is basically what the game is. Based off
that
a
makes
snuff
sense.
film.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
that makes
Yeah,
agree.
I've seen Manhunt. Yeah, I never played
I
it, but
remember
I've seen it.
that.
I have it in my closet somewhere, and I have
Well-
Manhunt too.
From the image
So-
they showed, it looked like the Purge almost.
You play like you escape from a mental institution or something like in Manhunt, right? I think so. Or was it just prison? I can't remember. But you had some sort of psychotic episode.
James Earl Cash, found guilty and sentenced to death, has been on death row for the past 3 years and was executed last night.
You've had an unexpected reprieve. Do exactly as I say, and I promise this will be over before the night is out.
They went crazy over this, huh?
It's
And-
so, oh, it's
Go ahead.
different. It's different, but it reminds me of an old game called Splatterhouse.
It always reminded me.
Hello, everyone. What
Go
is
ahead. I'm sorry.
It always reminded me of one of my favorite games, and if Sabius didn't talk, Caritas and Sabius didn't fight for 6 hours, I was going to ask to look at it. But it also kind of reminds me of The Suffering, which is one of my favorite games.
I don't think I've seen The Suffering. I don't
The
know.
Suffering's a game I wish they would remaster. It's a game that everybody should play once. It's fucked.
You got any
What system was
trailers
it on?
on The Suffering?
Huh?
What system was it on?
PS2.
I don't remember that one.
Got any
The
trailers
Suffering?
of it? Yeah,
Yeah.
pull it up. I don't recall that one. Maybe
I
I
can
know it
remember.
when
I
see
can
it.
remember the cover right now too. It has a dude in an electric chair.